What if the most important work you do isn't actually what you think it is? Today, we're going to unpack a super powerful recipe for business success from the legendary Brian Tracy. And believe me, it all starts with one very surprising ingredient. All right, let's just dive right in with a question Brian Tracy absolutely loves to ask people. What's the most valuable work that you do? I mean, your mind probably jumps to sales, right? Or maybe managing your team or building the product. But yeah, the answer isn't what you'd expect. The answer? It's thinking. And you might be like, thinking? But yeah, because look, the quality of your thinking, well, that directly determines the quality of your decisions. And those decisions, they drive your actions. And your actions, of course, create your results. See, it's a whole chain reaction. And the very first domino is how well you think. Okay, so if thinking is the starting point, where do so many businesses get it wrong? Well, it turns out there's this universal life cycle that pretty much every single business follows. Tracy calls it the sigmoid curve, and trying to navigate it, well, that's where high-quality thinking becomes absolutely non-negotiable. You know how it is. Every new venture, every new product, it starts with all this hope and excitement. But then reality hits, and you immediately enter what Tracy calls the dive. This is that scary part where you're just burning through cash way faster than you're earning it. The plane is literally heading for the ground. So what's the only way to survive? You have to learn, and you have to learn fast. If you can figure out how to make a profit before all that cash runs out, you can pull the nose of that plane up, right out of the dive. And that is when you hit this amazing phase of incredible rapid growth. You're learning, you're adapting, and you are winning. But here's the trap. At the absolute peak of your success, when profits are soaring and everything feels perfect, a really dangerous comfort zone starts to set in. You get, well, comfortable. And that comfort zone, I promise you, if you let it, it always leads to an inevitable decline. And if you want a perfect example of this danger, just look at these two giants. Nokia's engineers, they literally developed the tech for the one-touch phone, but the company wouldn't pursue it. Why? They were already so rich, they were afraid of disrupting their own business. And Kodak, get this, invented digital photography way back in 1986, but buried it because they wanted to protect their film business. We all know how those stories ended, right? So how do you avoid that fate? How do you keep growing instead of falling off that cliff? Well, Tracy offers a core recipe for sustained success, and we're going to look at 3 of the most essential ingredients right now. Okay, ingredient number 1, and this is the big one, having a great product or service. And no, this isn't just some nice to have. Tracy argues this accounts for a staggering 90% of all business success. Seriously, everything else flows from just how good your offering is. But what does a great product really mean? I mean, how do you measure that? It's not about the first sale. You can get that with some clever marketing or a steep discount. The real test, the true measure, is the second sale. When a customer comes back, that's them saying, yep, this delivered on its promise. That is the real win. Okay, so a great product is the foundation, right? But you need a solid structure built on top of it. And that brings us to ingredient number 2, a great business plan. And it's summed up perfectly by this powerful piece of advice an accountant once gave a struggling magazine publisher. See, instead of waiting till the end of the month and then asking, hey, how much profit did we make? You flip the whole thing on its head. You start the month by saying, this is the profit we must earn. Now, what do we have to do to make that happen? It's such a simple shift, but it forces profit to become the main goal that drives every other decision, not just some leftover. It makes being profitable totally intentional. All right, so you've got a great product. You've got a profit-focused plan. The final ingredient is the one that brings it all to life: decisive action. Tracy says this is one of the biggest differences between success and failure. You see, unsuccessful people, they're kind of passive. They wait for things to happen. Successful leaders, they are intensely action-oriented. They make things happen. And here's the thing, taking action, even if you mess up at first, is so powerful. It gives you 3 incredible benefits that just sitting around and waiting never will. 1, you get immediate feedback so you can correct your course. 2, the very act of doing sparks new ideas. And 3, it just raises your self-confidence and your energy. It creates momentum. This all brings us to what Tracy thinks is one of the most important questions a leader can ever ask themselves to focus all that action. And the question is this: What is the one thing that I and only I can do that if I do it well will make a real difference? Finding that one thing and then actually doing it, that's the secret sauce to high impact leadership. Okay, so how do we actually combine this high quality thinking with that decisive action? Let's look at a really practical tool you can start using today, literally today, to solve any problem or hit any goal. He calls this the 20 idea method. It sounds simple, but trust me, it's an incredibly powerful way to get your brain working. Here's how it goes. You write your biggest problem or goal as a question at the top of a piece of paper. Then you force yourself, and I mean force yourself, to write 20 different answers or solutions. The key here is the volume, because it pushes your brain way past the obvious answers. And then you review your list, pick one idea, and take action on it immediately. And hey, if you get stuck trying to come up with 20 ideas, and you probably will, you can use these 4 prompts to get the gears turning again. Ask yourself, what could we do more of? What could we do less of? What's something new we could start doing? And my personal favorite, what could we stop doing altogether to free up time and energy? So when it all comes down to it, thinking is super valuable, but it's action that creates results. So after walking through this whole recipe for success, the most important question isn't one from me, it's the one you ask yourself. What is the one action you can take today that will make a real difference? Because your answer to that, that's where real success actually begins.